Yeah, hi, welcome to our mortgage live stream. It's Monday, the 16th of March, mid-March, of course. Spring's on its way. Beautiful day here in Cheltenham. It's emptied out of racegoers as well, which is good news all around, really. If you're not a bar, a restaurant, or a nightclub, or a taxi driver, you don't make an awful lot of money. We're going to talk about that this morning, actually, because as you can appreciate, there's something going on out there which is affecting an awful lot of things. And we need to focus our attentions on our live stream, on the mortgage world and the business opportunities that it gives you. So I want to talk about a few things. So I want to talk about the budget, be rude not to, because that happened last week as well. Do you forget that? This big thing took over, didn't it? But I want to talk about how you can also pivot your business into an online model. That's coming out a little bit later for you. But I've been chatting to people about the economy, what's going on, stock markets, the banks are investing money, they're QEing again, they've reduced interest rates, lots of stimulus packages going on to try and keep the economy moving along nicely, which is the aim to the whole thing. And that's good. That's good, and I can see that working. I wish governments though would do more fiscal. In other words, spend, spend, spend. I think that's the answer to this one as well. Moving forward, that is probably the way it's going to go. Anyway, enough of that. If you're talking about mortgages, CMAT, your exams, whatever it is, you'll be interested in shares and assets and investing money. And we often talk about asset allocation. Let's talk a little bit about that just briefly for you on asset allocation, because a lot of people talk about assets. And when you're talking about asset allocation, you're talking about investing your money, you're talking about diversification. And that's the key to this little topic here, diversification. We're looking at diversifying your strategy. Now, when you have a pooled fund or a lot of money, whatever it is, you'll have your fund there, for example. And within that fund, you'll diversify across assets. Now, broadly, there's 4 assets. Actually, there's 5 if you think about it. There's shares, first of all, is a major asset class. You've then got cash, which is a big asset class as well. You've got property, and we're talking there about commercial property predominantly. And you've also got government gilts or bonds. You've also, I think, got gold as well. Gold and precious metals comes into its own in times of financial crisis. Now, a good fund will diversify across these, but not all do, of course. Many funds predominantly focus on shares. And that's where I want to go now. I want to talk about the current crisis and which industries you should be diversifying into. This, of course, helps you with your CMAP, doesn't it? Think about it now. We all know what's going on because you don't need me to tell you what's happening. You can just go onto Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever. But focus on traditional or reliable news, I think, is a key message to give you. When it talks about shares, there's certain industries that are going to do really well and certain industries that are not going to do well in the next 6 to 12 months. So if you invest in money, you need to make sure you're focusing in those areas, or at least you change your business model. So what's going to go down the pan, or what's going to do badly? Well, we know bars, cafes, restaurants, and all sort of leisure activities like that will suffer terribly until people get fed up with being indoors. I guess they will go out a lot more. Tourism abroad will suffer. People don't want to jump on aeroplanes now. In fact, airlines, of course, are struggling terribly at the moment. They live off the need to have regular customer money to pay the bills. Very heavy bill-laden sort of industry, running airplanes and airlines. Transport in general, trains have reported their numbers are down dramatically over the last few days. Taxis, of course, people not catching taxis as a result of that as well. Planes, of course. Tourism abroad. Non-food retail, of course, people will go online and buy now more than ever before. So non-food retail is going to struggle to make some money as well. Traditional training and meeting sector, a lot of people in my trade are telling everyone on LinkedIn that all their businesses have been cancelled. Face-to-face meetings, conferences, those sort of things have just stopped or will stop literally overnight as well. So lots of industries and sectors are going to struggle in the next few months. But on saying that, though, there are many sectors that are going to do well. And that's the whole point about balancing your portfolio, you see. From the top of the head, I'm thinking supermarkets, of course, online delivery firms are doing really well. UK tourism, maybe not hotels, I get that, but a lot of hotels, the big chains, are going to be selling their their floor space to the NHS, who are going to use them for surplus hospitals. I can see that happening as well. So Airbnb will do well because they rent out people's flats and houses, which of course are nice and clean, aren't they? Netflix, Sky, home entertainment packages, home gaming, of course, will do really well. Online games, webinar-based software, Zoom, for example. People can use this sort of thing to communicate with the public as well. That'll do really well. Home DIY, B&Q, as long as they deliver through the internet, you can buy online, of course you can, or you go to the stores, they're big enough, keep them eating half the people, you're fine. Home DIY is taking off because people are at home a lot more, aren't they? Amazon will do well, of course. Home grooming. I was talking to my partner, I need to get my hair cut. Do I go to a barber's? I said, no, I'll do it for you. So, snip, snip, snip. So be prepared for my haircut to deteriorate, possibly. I don't know. It could be a lifesaver in that respect. Online gambling will do well, oddly enough. There's no sport or anything going on, so people will look for other ways to entertain themselves. So online gambling may well replace completely gambling shops and places like that. So the whole point behind that little sector then is in a crisis, which we're at the moment. Some industries will do well, some industries won't do well. So if you balance your portfolio, you have enough sectors, enough industries, enough companies in your share portfolio, then you'll be okay. That's why unit trusts, investment trusts, OICs and things will do really well as long as they're well balanced. That's the key behind that one. Interesting topic, that one for you. Hope you found that useful. Okay, let's move on then to take a look at another topic for you, which is the budget. Now, a lot of people have forgotten about the budget. It happened last week here in the UK, but obviously other news has taken precedent to the budget, which is quite scary in a way, isn't it, if you think about it? But there's an awful lot going on in the budget world that we need to be aware of. So what I want to do now is talk to you about the budget and what's happened. Just some updates for you for the CMAP and mortgage advisor really is where I'm going with the budget. Now, the whole point behind the budget itself, Budget 2020, is it forms the basis of the next tax year. And in exams, you need to know what's going on because a lot of tax changes, of course, affect the way your exam is going to be run. And that's key to the whole thing, isn't it? Let's just move here now to get this camera a little bit better focused. There you go. That's far better. So, the thing about budget really is that they set the scene. They talk about the economy. He's predicted growth to be very low. Now that may well be even lower now. We've got this current crisis going on as well. He's talking about your fiscal growth plans. In other words, the plans to grow the economy through spending. They're talking about borrowing hundreds of billions of pounds over the next few years, and they will. There's talk of 600 billion borrowing and spent on infrastructure, that's railways, roads, over the next 5, 6, 7 years, whenever if they get back into power again, which is great. It's great to see that. Let's hope that works. So let's bang into the budget implications for you. First of all, you've got capital gains tax. That's one that's been hit. Your capital gains tax. The annual exemption has crept up, but you don't need to remember that. That's in your tax sheet. So that's something to think about as well. Now, there is a change in the entrepreneurs relief. Entrepreneurs relief. I'll put it in there for you if I can spell it. Entrepreneurs relief. And the whole point about entrepreneurs relief, the capital gains tax, is if you set up a company as an entrepreneur and sell it at profits, cheaply. But the whole point is you can offset it. You can reduce the amount of CGT. But they brought it down to 1 million. So I think it was running at 10 million. So they brought it down to 1 million. So they've kept it, but they've shaven it slightly. And the whole point now is you have a reduced rate of 10% capital gains tax when you sell the business with entrepreneurs relief. So that's one to think about as well. National insurance, NI. National insurance thresholds here have changed. Class 1 threshold has gone up to £9,500. So they're increasing that nicely now, aren't they? This is the threshold in which you then begin to start paying national insurance for Class 1 and Class 4. So that's just a small thing. But again, you can see that in your tax sheet. You don't need to remember that. ISAs. ISAs, the main ISA, the one that adults have, is unchanged. 20 grand limit still the same. The junior ISAs, they've whacked it right up to £9,000. You can pop into that each year. And child trust funds are the same as well for people that already got those things. So that's something to think about. That's not in your tax sheets. You probably do need to know that figure. That's easy to remember though, isn't it? Pensions. Pensions have come in with some changes as well in the budgets. The long predicted abolition of high rate tax relief didn't happen. So you get your full tax relief on pensions as you have done for years. That's no big deal. The lifetime allowance has changed, the LTA, the lifetime allowance. That's gone up to 1,073,100. That goes up by CPI, the Consumer Price Index chips that up each year. But that's the maximum fund that you could build up in a private pension, or in pension in total, really, lifetime allowance. And if you did build up more than that, when you come to take your pension on crystallisation, they'll tax you. So you need to be aware of that. Do you need to remember that figure? No, it's in the tax sheet. We need to be aware there is a lifetime allowance. The minimum annual allowance is £4,000. Now that's the amount of money that you can contribute to a pension. Now for most people it's much, much bigger than that, of course, it's 40,000. But for some situations it goes down to 4,000. The first situation is somebody that's crystallised their pension. So if you crystallise your pension, your annual allowance goes down to 4,000. That's the most you can contribute into a pension. So when you crystallise your pension, basically you're taking your money in, that's it. But high earners lose it as well. High earners lose it. Now there is a much higher threshold now of £200,000. So beyond that, somebody earning that sort of money, they'll start to lose their ability to contribute large amounts into a pension, because obviously they get high rate relief. So that's something that you need to be aware of. That's in the tax sheet, so you don't need to remember all those figures. That's something to be comfortable with. A couple other things for you on the budget to be aware of. The other thing a lot of people are aware of that's coming now is the Retail Price Index, RPI. There you go. Retail Price Index is changing. They're reviewing it. They're fed up with having two, because you've got CPI and RPI, Retail Price Index, and Consumer Price Index, and it just confuses everybody. So they're reviewing the RPI and bringing it more into line with the CPI as well. Now the Consumer Price Index is the one that we use for forecasting inflation. It includes housing costs. It's much more up to date. But the RPI is used to index stuff like gilts, pensions, those sort of things, and some of the welfare benefits are indexed as well. Some national savings, government gilts are indexed with RPI. So they're reviewing that as well. So that's a small one for you. VAT, slight change in VAT. They're exempting ebooks for VAT, which is a good thing, because normal books don't have VAT attached to them. So if you bought a paperback book, if you bought the same paperback book as an ebook, as a PDF, as an Amazon Kindle purchase, you have that attached to it, which is ridiculous. So they phase that out, which means our revision guides are going to go down in price. And no, we're not the type of company that will just keep the price as it is and make more profit. We're going to reduce the price, which you should do as well. What else is happening? Stamp duty land tax, SDLT. Different rates, of course, in Scotland and England and Wales. They slapped on a 2% levy, there you go, on non-UK resident buyers of property. So they've got to pay all the usual stamp duty, of course they have, but they've added another 2% levy on non-UK residents buying. So if you're dealing in the expat market, make sure that you get your tax advice on that one, because it could mean an increase in stamp duty for those people. That's coming in 2021. Now, the government reckon that 2% levy that they're going to be charging is going to go for funding social housing. They're going to find £12 billion to fund social housing, which is fantastic news. I'm really glad they're doing that as well. All your other personal allowances and things are going up. So allowances, personal allowances, thresholds and stuff are all changing, but you don't need to know about those because the tax sheet will have those for you. Two important ones: personal allowance is now going up to 12,500. So that's the allowance everybody gets. Quite generous, actually, no? Quite generous, that. Not bad. Capital gains threshold is going up to 12,300. Again, it's all in the tax sheet, so be aware of that. You don't need to remember these figures. But not a massive change really in the budget. First budgets for a new government never are. It sets the scene. The scene has been set, they're spending, and I like that. because with the current crisis that's going on, if the government spends on infrastructure, whatever it needs to, it will boost the economy. The monetarist methods have not worked, or they're not working. There's no scope anymore. They're QEing, they've reduced interest rates, but that's about a lot they can do now to increase money supply. So fiscal policies are king. And I can see a lot of money being spent now to rejuvenate the whole country. And let's hope that brings it forward. So there's a budget update for you. There you go. So hope you enjoyed that. I'm sure you did. So let's move away from budget then and get ourselves onto a really, really important topic for the last 5-10 minutes. Now, I've deliberately not mentioned anything going on with the current situation, but we all know what's happening. And as I mentioned to you in the previous session there, some companies will do well, some companies won't do well. And companies that won't do so well in the next 6 months and onwards are those firms who rely on meeting people face to face. So my trade, for example, which is training and development and that kind of stuff, we meet people face to face. It will start to reduce the number of events and conferences and things. But in the mortgage world, although I'm entitling this section for you there, how to pivot your business model to an online virtual model. Now, you might want to do this in bits, you might want to do it in its entirety. You definitely want to start doing it now because you'll need to. Because mortgage advisors, financial advisors even, any kind of personal finance advisor, relies totally on meeting the customer face to face and doing the business, your fact finding, etc. Now that model, you're still allowed to do it, but you'll find less and less of your clients are willing to do that, and you may not want to do that. And the fact is, people don't want business to be conducted like that, particularly in the next 3 months. It will probably continue on 6 months, 12 months. So if you're looking to pivot to an online model, here's how to do it. The first thing you need to do is to get crystal clear as to what your sales process is. If you haven't engineered your sales process, then you need to call it an advisor process if you're sort of scared of the word sales. Now, when you do sales or when you do advising, there's a number of steps you're going to take. The first one is you're going to do personal marketing. Personal marketing, as we call it. Now, they used to call that client acquisition, or prospecting is another phrase you might want to use. That's great. Then you meet with the customer and you build trust and rapport. They are separate things. Rapport is part of trust, but you have to do that at some point. Obviously, there's lots of compliance stuff as well, I get that. Then you need to explore the needs of the customer. Explore their needs, wants, aspirations, goals, all those things. You have to do that. Once you've done that, you then research the solution and present it to the customer. Once you've researched and presented, you then want to close. In other words, fill in the paperwork, and then you want to do all the post-sale follow-ups and admin. Now that's your sales process, that's your advisor process. Not a lot different to that. Now, if you currently carry that out face-to-face, you'll have a number of meetings. You'll probably have an initial meeting maybe there. You might combine those two elements and have a fact-find meeting, which might last half an hour to an hour or whatever it is. You then might have another meeting to present the solution and to close the sale and get the customer to buy whatever it is you want or to take the advice that you're giving them. Just because you give advice, don't think people are going to take it. And then you might have the odd face-to-face meeting following up as well, ongoing reviews, stuff like that. Now, what you want to do is you want to replace that sales process with a virtual model. And the first element you want to do then is to do your personal marketing. Now, personal marketing doesn't change. You'll want to carry on doing that, but doing it online. So it's phone calls, it's video calls, it's social media, it's online marketing as well, referral marketing. All those things come into their own. You'd be wanting to do a lot of that. Doesn't change so much really, whether you're online or face-to-face. You need to carry on doing your personal marketing. The best one to use, of course, is referrals. Definitely the best thing. I would look to an internet lead generation service as well to get your leads via the internet. You can buy these things, they're not that expensive now. You'll find more and more people on the internet. So get your leads via the internet, maybe. You can buy those, as I said to you, contact the customer. You can get referrals. There's all sorts of things you can do there to generate income, to generate clients. Now, once you've done that, you then want to prepare your clients. You want to advertise or promote the way you do business. And this is much down to the personal marketing. Your value proposition, for example, your introduction to what you do, is that you operate in an online world and you operate through video, through FaceTime, whatever tech you want to use, in order to help customers buy a home, mortgage a home, buy a property to rent or whatever, or if you're a financial advisor, that's the offering you give them. But you do it via virtual means, if that's the way you want to work. So that has to come over in your value proposition. Now, when you give that value proposition, you've got to talk about benefits of that value proposition. So be crystal clear what the benefits are. Time saving. For the next 3 months, the benefits are obvious. There's no personal contact. So it's time saving. It's keeping you in the comfort of your own home. It's allowing me to keep my costs down, so my fees are a lot lower. There needs to be a lot of benefits involved in giving this proposition to customer. And when you do your value proposition, make sure your customer knows how you're going to operate this. We'll explore your needs. We'll talk to you via a comprehensive video link or on the telephone. Telephone, by the way, is still virtual, isn't it? And that's how we operate. So if you want to go down this model, you've got to make sure your customers are prepared for that when you're personal marketing as well. You then want to build rapport. You then want to connect the customer, build rapport. Now, I'll talk about how we can do this in a second or two. Explore the needs, research solution, and close. It's all done through technology. So let's get yourself prepared then, and we'll talk about a few other areas for you. The first thing you need to do is get your tech right. Get your technical stuff right. Get your IT right. Now, you might be good at it, you might not be good at it. So here's 4 or 5 things you need to think about. But first of all, you need your room. You need some sort of base to do this from. So here's your room. You might be based in an office, you might be based at home. There's nothing wrong with being based at home, by the way, to do this. Here's your room. And typically in your room, you might have a PC on the desk and your keyboard and a filing cabinet and all those good things. That's your office. Now, if you're going to operate on the virtual model, you want to find a base in which to do it from. You don't want to be using laptops. You don't want to be using tablets and coffee bars, that kind of kit. You could, but it's not very professional. You need to have a dedicated room to deliver your advice and your prospecting and your marketing and your exploring. You've got to do that. So get your room sorted. It could be an office, could be at home. If it's at home, corner, whatever, it needs to be fairly quiet. It needs to be prevented from being interrupted by children, God bless them, or dogs, or whatever it is, because you're going to be talking to customers from this room. It doesn't matter if there are dogs or there's children around, there's noise, birds singing, whatever, but you need to keep the noise down to a minimum. Then you need to think about your tech. What sort of tech are you going to have? Well, the best way to do this, of course, is with some kind of video camera and Zoom or some sort of software. So the first thing you need to do is you need your software to operate from it. Now, I use Zoom. It's very, very good. Good price. It allows you to communicate using video technology. It works really, really well for me. I'm sure it will work for you. You then need to look at a camera of some description. So you need to have a proper camera. Now, have your webcam attached to your monitor. If you've got a laptop, they've all got them in the top. Webcams are important because they will obviously screen you. Get a decent HD one. If you've got an old laptop where the camera's well dodgy, then replace it with a Logitech £100 or so webcam. They're pretty good nowadays. You need to get that going. Of course you do. You need to have a microphone. You can rely on the webcam's microphone, or you can get one of these sort of Yeti microphones, which sit on your desk and they connect to the PC. I use a Yeti. The Yeti can pick up the noise from all around. The best one to have is a Yeti one. The webcam microphones are pretty poor generally. And that's all you need, really. You've got your camera, you've got your microphone, you've got your computer screen. And now you can start to use Zoom or GoTo or whatever kind of tech, Microsoft Teams. Zoom is a better one because it allows the general public to access you and you have control over it, and it works really well. And that's pretty much the tech. You might want to enhance that with maybe 2 monitors. Then once you start getting a couple of monitors, you have the customer's image on one, and you might have another screen for shared documents and stuff like that, which you'll be wanting to do as part of the advice process. So that's a good investment to do. Make sure your PC, of course, could attach 2 monitors. Get yourself a box PC, one of these boxes, put it on the floor. You need a high-powered bit of spec to do this, by the way. Don't expect a very basic laptop to do it for you, it won't work. So that would work really well. Internet is key. If you've got your internet router on the top of the shelf there, with Wi-Fi, then that's fine. But what you will want to do is get a cable to go to the PC. Ethernet cable, internet. Don't rely on Wi-Fi, they come down like a yo-yo. If you've got an Ethernet cable, it means it's consistent. Ask any gamer how they access the internet. It's always via Ethernet cable. Make sure it's fast enough, of course. You need that without saying any more about that one. But that's the tech, pretty much. Yeah, you can get lighting if you want to. Most decent offices have got decent lighting. You can get little spotlights if you wanted to. You can get little lights, which connect to cameras, which connects to the table if you want to get lighting. Makes it look lovely. Don't forget the background as well. Needs to be fairly reasonable. I mean, as you can appreciate, I've got a background here which is a whiteboard, which works really well as far as I'm concerned because I use it for training. I've got 3 cameras here, so I've got different backgrounds that you want to be thinking about. The last thing on the tech, of course, are the skills. Get good at it. Get good at operating it. It goes without saying. Make sure you're a fluent with the technology, that you can explain to the customer how it works as well. Because you'll be accessing these various meetings using this technology. Proper meeting times, etc. You'll need to guide them through what to do. Now, Zoom's pretty clever. It's pretty intuitive. It's not difficult. But your customer might not be savvy, so you'll need to educate them as you go. Don't spend 10 minutes teaching them the whole software up front, because they won't remember. Teach them things as you go. So, for example, if you're wanting to share a screen, so it might well be that you've got some sort of initial disclosure that you might want to share on the screen for them. You're building rapport, you're building trust, you're doing your disclosure, which you have to do, and your network might require a certain form. So get it shared on the screen. You'll say to the customer, right, what I want to do now is share a screen for you. So in a minute, your screen is going to show a PDF image. So I'd like you to click this button to bring it up on the whole screen, because your customer will be on a laptop, a tablet, or something like that. So educate them as you go along. So get good at it, really, is the issue to think about. 4 or 5 other things for you to think about as well. Your lender and life office contact. You're online now. You're virtual. You ain't going out your house. So you'll need to talk to lenders. You'll need to talk to mortgage clubs. Your BDMs, of course, have all hunkered back into their offices. You don't find BDMs in cars anymore driving around seeing you, because they've all gone back into their offices now. They're all online. They're all using the phone mostly. Some will be using this. So make sure you're dealing with BDMs that do have video link as well, because you'll want some training education on products as well. Your network may require something going on here as well. They may have rules and regulations, sure they will. They may well also want sort of connection via video as well. You may have a paraplanner, you might have a virtual assistant. I've got a number of clients of mine who have VAs or virtual assistants who do all the paraplanning for you, all the research and stuff. They could be based anywhere in the country, don't have to have people local to you. Make sure they're up to speed with the technology and they can use it with you as well, and you can communicate via that methodology. CPD, make sure your own learning and development is done online as well. We're an online training company now, that's what we do. All our online teaching is done via this methodology. Workshops, conferences, one-to-one videos, all those sort of things. So make sure you're picking up your CPD online as well. Networking. You may not be wanting to do a lot of face-to-face networking, probably the next 2 to 3 months, more than likely. So make sure you get into a networking club. I'm not talking about social media, your Facebook, LinkedIn. You can use that if you want to. LinkedIn's very useful. But if your clients are individuals, which most mortgage advisors are, LinkedIn ain't going to help you. All LinkedIn will do is tell you what other mortgage brokers are doing and what lenders are up to. Networking, I'm thinking here more of online mastermind classes, for example. Now, I meet up with people every couple of months for a mastermind where people like me meet up on video. We chat about problems, challenges. So get in with a number of other mortgage brokers to help you, because you don't want to be isolated if you are working from within. Compliance and paperwork. Obviously, record these things. Compliance and paperwork. Make sure that your videos are all recorded. So when you do your meetings, so you might, for example, have a first meeting here for the Explore and the report, I'm sure you would do. You'll probably want to have a meeting here where you're presenting the options and solutions and then closing as well. Maybe further meetings when you're doing post-sale stuff, updates and stuff like that. Make sure you record the meeting. Get client permission, of course, to do that. Zoom will record automatically. Put the MP4 file that's created, it'd be a jolly big file, put that into the client file, and so there's your computer system, and use it. Your network will probably have rules around that as well, so I'd definitely record it. Make sure all your documentation is given to the customer in the right way. Make sure that you can issue or email PDFs rather than get them to. You'll probably need signatures, of course you will. You might want to go digital signatures. You might just want to post the documentation to the client, post and return back to you. Post, by the way, still works. Postman will still deliver stuff, but you might want to use other technology for that one. So make sure you remain compliant. Don't change your sales process. Have all the things in there you have to, because your supervisors will want to watch you. And I have seen where a supervisor actually comes online with you and observes the meeting online. Pretty clever stuff. What you'll have is you'll have you and your client on a Zoom call. You'll also invite your supervisor in, also tell the client what you're doing, and the supervisor's back in their office, and they're watching the whole interaction on computer. And that's perfectly acceptable to do that. I'm doing some training days this month for a network, and we're teaching the supervisor how to supervise online. How cool is that? The world is changing. So there's some ideas, tips, techniques to help you to pivot your business model online. It can be done. It's not difficult. It's definitely required for the next 3 to 6 months, and maybe moving forward as well. You might want to look at operating that model. It opens up the geography. You don't have to be dealing with people in your local area. And it's not just the telephone. Telephone's great. This, you get image, you get people, you get pictures, you get people chatting, smiles. The rapport's a whole lot easier as well, and it's a whole lot more modern. And when VA virtual reality comes in, and we're all donning our headsets, then it's a game changer, and this prepares you for that as well. So some ideas, hope it's been useful. Bye. There we go. So a little video there for you on online updating. Hope you found that useful. It's meant our live stream has gone on for a little bit longer than normal. But, you know, in times of crisis, guys, we need these ideas. They're there to help us move forward. Don't think the world is collapsing around you. It's not. Life still goes on, by the way. People still need to remortgage, probably more than ever if we're into recession. People still need to have buy-to-lets. People still need to have later life advising. Make sure you get into the later life market, by the way. It's recession-proof. People still need to buy and sell homes. And after a couple of weeks, people will suddenly realise that, you know, the world is not ending. Lockdown, etc., is not helping. I agree with that. But at the moment, the UK ain't doing that. So that's great news all around. So let's keep calm, as they say, and carry on trading. And we'll see you next week. Bye. Ha!